I am actually a registrar, so I head the district. I head Buikwe. So when this project started, they were looking for a communication champion, like someone to champion the communication of this project, so to augment the PR department. So I'd done my first week presser, and it went pretty fine. It was a matter of English and that. But then in the room, that day I'd gone to do my job normally. So then I see someone with Tayari TV jacket, and then I see someone with UBC. Now, because I needed to find a way to not just disseminate information or make news, I needed to communicate. And I needed to reach out to a broad spectrum of people in Uganda. So when I did my English and Luganda standard version, which is what happens at the security presser, I then saw UBC. If you remember in that video, I say, UBC, you're in the house. And then I see Tayari in the house. That told me that was Western. So immediately I said, is it okay if I can then put this message in another dialect with a view of reaching further? So honestly, I didn't see that happening. For me, like, I did a normal thing. So in the evening, when it went on Twitter, I was like, okay. Initially, I was in there, I was like, it's a normal thing. I didn't expect it to make news. And before that, my phone just got out of control. And I said, wow. So it was a normal thing, honestly. I just saw UBC, I saw Baba TV, and I knew it was for Vasoga people, Tayari. So they'd come for regular news, I think, security briefing. So for me, I just said, let me say it in many languages. So if they have a local news bulletin, maybe this word could go far. So that's how it happened. Like, I didn't see it coming. I didn't. My name is Claire Ollama. I hail from Zombo. Zombo is a breakaway district from the then Greater Nebi. It's the last district as you go up towards Congo. Yeah, so I hail from there. My mommy is Zamusoga from Luka district. Yeah, in a village called Busete. And I was born on Kandusha Street in Kampala. Yeah, in Mengo Hospital. So that's it about me. I'm a mommy. Yeah, that's very important to say as well. And I'm an avid lover and proponent of identification. So beyond being my job, it's a thing I truly believe in and what it can do for people. Yeah, my dad hails from Zombo, so by default he's an Alur. Zombo, okay, yeah, it's true, Zombo has some Kebu people, I agree, and Lendo people, but for us we associate as Alur. We are from Paida Town Council, and the village is Jupandika West. Yeah, it's a place I love a lot. I'll go to my village anytime. I love it. I'm very proud of it. So that's where we are from. Maybe in terms of migration, yeah, we were from Congo, and then we found our way this way. You must have heard that the Alur, the bigger number lives in Congo. The number of Alurs in Uganda is way actually smaller. The bigger percentage of Alur people are on the other side in Congo. Yes, so I'm from Paida. That's true, that's history. Actually, so it happens that we came from, of course, Sudan, and then Gipiri and Labongo separated, creating the modern day Alur people and their Choli. But then, at that time, the borders of Uganda were not there. So the people who made the current day Alur, you know that West Nile was in Congo. And when the boundaries were cut in 1926, we became Ugandans. So if someone says that the Alur people were at one point Congolese, that's okay. So the descendants of Nyipir, whom you people call Gipir, in my village we call him Kwai Nyipir, they are people who cross over all the way to Congo. So that's rightly also correct. So both stories are correct. Professionally, I am a trained economist. I must put a disclaimer that I'm trained economist, but right from high school I'd been a healthy person. Yeah, very avid love of literature. So my teacher at high school has never recovered from the idea that I did not either study it or choose to do my first degree as something that leveraged that, but because it was a thing dear to me. But anyway, I trained economics from Makerere University, a Bachelor of Arts in Economics, and later on mastered Economic Policy Management. Really pretty much of my career been in public service. First at the Kampala Capital City Authority, and now later on moving into NIRA, National Identification and Registration Authority. So at KCCA, I was an officer registration, assessment and collection, but therein I served as a research and business analyst. So I was a collector that registered taxpayers for the city authority, that I was domiciled in the research and business analysis unit to leverage my economics training. Yeah. So that's how I moved to NIRA. There was an element of registering, identifying taxpayers. So someone must ask, but how do you pivot from tax collection and then identify people? The bottom line is that there's an element of identifying people, grouping them and making them unique. Yeah. So that's who I am. First a tax collector, now I identify people. I like to say I help people to be visible, to be seen, to be unique. And that's not a lot of work that many people do. Many people will want to meet you after you have been visible, after you're seen, after you're unique. So I celebrate that I'm at the foundational level of doing first things first before I hand you over to everybody else that wants to meet you. Yes, my high school teacher, when he saw that presser, and you media people are very funny people. You can actually make or kill someone. So when he saw the presser, he went through the high school group and then called a few and said, I want to speak to Claire. Called me and said, I'm very proud of you. And then he said, now the next thing you need to do is, I need you to go and lock in that policy and then pivot to communicating that policy so that now you become professional. So now people stop leveraging the economists and call you to comms, but then you become the policy person that is into dissemination, synthesis, and putting out there and maybe probably informing uptake. So yeah, right now I'm at the Uganda Management Institute. I have started on a postgraduate diploma in communication and journalism. I actually just won class president, so yes. But of course that's because I really want to be a leader, and when you're a leader, you lead by example. So I don't have a choice to fail. I don't have a choice to drop out. I just have to do this. But also because I now clearly have a sense of direction. Because where I was as an analyst, I was writing reports. I was understanding tax. So I have actually been communicating. Yes, I'm an economist, but would study and then communicate through reports to my managers and say, we can introduce a new tax head. This is what the data is saying. And my job was to write to my managers and say, this is what people did. This is what the data is saying. This is what we need to do. This is what we can do. And that's communication, but as at the back of it. Now I want to be at the forefront of not speaking to management, but also speaking to the user or the person that gives us a yes in that space. Language is, for me, the first thing I say is that parents will give you the best platform. Like parents will not teach you, but they can give you wings and you can fly. So at home, my daddy never spoke to me in English. Didn't. He was such an allure guy that he used to work with Green Lace Bank, what you call Standard Chartered today. So pretty much a good banker. And the next seminary, I'm a secondum, so to say, Katigondo level, dropped out, then went to MOBS, trained accounting and finance, and ended up in a bank. So not that English was his problem, but then he knew the value of carrying forward his culture, like he took pride in it. So he said, man, Kanjocha Street that time was a street for public servants, bankers, those were government houses. I remember a neighbor was Captain Musurubu on one side. And those are the kind of things you'd hear. He's a manager of this bank, he's a director. So there was English on that street, on Kanjocha Street. And my dad said, I'm so not speaking to you in English because I pay the teacher, Jack and Jill. There was a kindergarten in Kololo Uphill that my cousins went to, but I went to Jack and Jill. And he said, you learn English there. In my house, we will speak alone. So my daddy, as soon as he'd enter, come back home, hi daddy, good evening, with his hot loaf bread and family biscuits, English would stop there. It would be Uri Nenedi, and then would go home. So he was intentional. Too, he never hired a maid that was not from our village. So he told my mother and my stepmother that our maids shall be from Zomb, from Paid. So that was another way to lock in the English. But also we lived communally in our home. My dad lived with a lot of other relatives that came to the city. So it was the language spoken at home. And we saw our uncle speak that and interact in that, and we learned. But then my mother had very good self-esteem as well. So when she learned that we loved it, she used to have a phrase of saying, like, you know, these northerners, like, you know, they love themselves. Like, they throw it in our face the whole time. Now, my mother, you know, grew up like a Msoga person. You know, my mother learned a lot because of us. Like, she grew up a Msoga, never knew it. But my mother started to speak a lot because it was that inherent at home. Then what she did in retaliation, she also ceased to speak to us in English. She also started Lusoga. So mommy would also speak Lusoga. So at home, we were speaking 2 languages. When my mommy would come, mama isukayo, kodeyo. Then when my daddy would come, daddy was forward wogu, irinenedi. You understand? So in the house, it was those languages. But also on that Kanjocha street, after a couple of years when government started selling those houses, we moved to Kamoch on the other side of the street, church to church road. So my parents bought land there and built there, so we moved. Now, in Kamocha, there's a multiplicity of languages. So we started to play Dul, you know, that game for kids. And then we would go to play Dodge the Ball, we would go to skip the rope. So then we would play in Uganda. So Uganda came in. And then I was at City Primary. The schools at that time were not hell-bent on you must speak English the whole time. It was normal to go to class, study English, and then break time as you're playing vernacular. That habit of yours of wearing socks, of wearing paper bags were not there. So Uganda came from the social networking and playing with other kids. So by P1, like I was good. Could speak Soga, could speak Alur, could speak Luganda, could speak English. Because my daddy, when we'd go to school, he would tell the teacher, I pay you to teach English. So he was very critical on the fact that we were scoring in that subject, and he'd see the marks. And he'd read the paper and say, why did you fail this? But explain to you in vernacular, but telling you that this is what you should have done, that tense was wrong. Yeah, speak to it, show you that I understand what's happening here, and then tell the teacher, I pay you to deliver. So by P1, 4 languages were locked in. English was there, Lusoga was there, Aluru was there. Yeah. So later on, of course, when I kept growing, I picked up the others through schools, through the communities I lived in, and then I picked on those later along the way. Yeah. I am an extrovert, and that's one thing about me. I have my way. I like to refer to myself sometimes as a relationship builder. Much of fact, oftentimes, international firms that want to do business in Uganda would reach out to me. I've had instances of few of those. Like there was a firm called Mathematica, EDI Global, that made me their BD person for a couple of hours a week. But I think not because even as a BD person I trained to do that, but because I don't have quite a lot of trouble with breaking barriers with people. It's a thing that I don't know how it happens, but I'm quite lucky with that. So I pick up the rest of these along the way because for me it's my way of connecting with people. But also more importantly, I think my church has a lot to do. You know, Catholic, and then Catholic Church has a lot of music and songs that are in many, many dialects. That's one thing, and I'm a very active member. So as I continue to grow, my other brother got a job in Gulu, our firstborn. He works with Gulu local government. So there came a time when my parents would send me to go to him and take holiday in Gulu. I want to promise you that for 2 holidays when I'd gone, I was okay with Acholi. Like I told myself, he had an Acholi wife, and then I was the babysitter. I would go and carry his baby a lot. That helped me pick up Acholi seamlessly because I loved the baby. So I was interested in connecting with the baby and making the baby my friend, my niece. So I picked that up. Then when I went to school in Barara, when my brother also was working at the diocese in Nyamitanga, because I went to Mary Hill High School in Western Uganda. So on holiday, I would not come back to Kampala. I picked that up. But the easiest way to learn for me was 2 things. Church, so I would attend Catholic Mass. Now, Catholic Mass is so standard that you can tell that already in my brain, I've figured out that that's in the name of the Father and of the Son. So so I would know, so that means the Lord be with you and with your spirit. You get it? Christ. So no, that is the body of Christ. So that means that Jesus loves you. So because Catholic Mass is standard, so there are things that I'll hear and it will sing. If I go to Mass 2 times, and I made sure I never went to Poor Clares for English Mass. I only went to Nyamitanga for Runyankore Mass. Because if I know the whole Mass, and I master it, then those are too many ones. Now the next point is to apply them. What I do is there were grandparents in the neighborhood. Two old women, I remember one was called Demetria and one was called Petronida. They were very old. One used to do pig farming, and then she was really poor. The church used to help her. So I would go to her and say, Osibrota, then I try to engage with her. As cash would go to her farm, so I would easily see the herbs, then know, then say, okay, this is what, then she would say, she'd point. Before I knew it, I was on my feet. So that extrovert nature of mine and the love to touch base with people, my way of being empathetic to you and trying to fit in your shoes, to meet you at a certain level of emotional wavelength, sometimes is evidence enough. But also, at some point, I joined Youth Alive early. That was a youth group that was there young. Now, I became a champion of their program. It was called Adventure Unlimited. It was for young people. So they took it to different parts of the country, and then they also leveraged song, acting, drama, but also there was that thing they instilled. I got confident quite early. Like it takes an arm and leg to break my confidence as long as press you penetrate, because I am so appreciative of who I am and my uniqueness that even when you're very good in the room, I am compelled to what I can take for you rather than be threatened. Like it's my safe space. Like if I meet people like, wow, she got her thing together. Eh? Like if I can pick up of that. Not necessarily trying to mimic her, but to be me. So for me, that alone gave me exposure. They gave me a platform to go to many schools, many areas. And for wherever I went, I left with a little bit of that place with me. But I think also it's a gift. Because my brother, after we left Mbarara, I promise you, after 6 years of Mbarara, my brother left with no word. Like you'd say, Agandi, like you could really hear that that's a northerner speaking Runyankore. And then me, I even almost got a boyfriend. Hadn't the father Mingu Chimwana Nendafa Ningambor Jungu, I would have got a man. But when I went to Bihar to meet the boyfriend's dad, he said, Shmone Krio Inhibition Keviente Concussion Yondafa Ningambor Jungu. Narujiramuaho. I left like that. But he had meant well. Like he said, he loved me. And then I'm going to tell you have eyes like a cow. It means you're very beautiful. You are. Said, Inhibition Keviente. Like, because they love cows so much, to use that imagery is to say how beautiful you are, but then in their own little world, I'll understand him. People fear change. People fear opening up from their safe space. So he wasn't too sure he wanted to grow old with a translator by his side. Yeah, maybe he also felt I could dilute the blood of him a little, I don't know. But I'm thankful that he's still my friend. And whereas the relationship didn't work, we remain friends with my friend. So when I go to Bihar, I'm happy to greet them, to see them, and yeah. BD is business development. Business development, majorly for me, it was about relationship building. There are firms that want to penetrate a market. So how this happens, I go to university, to economic policy management class. It was funded by an East African Capacity Building Foundation, something like that. So it brought together young people from all over Africa. And the goal was to train African professionals in economics and policy. So in that class, we had lots of Tanzanians and Ethiopians. And the one thing that the East African guys liked about me, they couldn't make sense with how nilikuwa nazungumza lugha ya Kiswahili ile ya Kenya mwenyewe. Like the real one of Kenya. Like, chick, how are you having this thing together? So I became class president for some reason. So you see, I am class president and I was class president for my master's class. So yeah, leadership flows somewhere there. Even high school, I was my school head girl. So it's been my kind of thing. From primary, by the way. So I get in there and this guy just looks at how I was helping coordinate this class, following up our scholarships, managing things. Then they would say, we want to go out. I'm able to prepare a weekend trip away to Ginger, like put things together. And more than anything else, BD is not about how you write your proposals, because you'll need an assortment of people to deliver a project. Sometimes you have to co-opt strengths from different places. So these were international firms that want to do work in Uganda, but probably don't have a presence here or don't have a local understanding of the market. So my job was to say, go to Baylor, go to maybe different funds, Action Aid, wherever, look for people that can do this. So we want to deliver, say, a project in health. And so Mathematica maybe is good at that, and then says, can we leverage the experience of this, and then come together to form a consortium with a view of applying for a grant or a bid. So I used to do relationship building, team consolidation, and then I used to help with writing the background to these proposals in terms of Uganda setting, understanding, and giving it the context and tone that is local, with a view of not making it feel like, okay, we're trying to superimpose an intervention that may otherwise not work. So I've been in that place, not because when I trained for it, but you see, it was leveraging my persona one, my ability to speak and break barriers, but also my ability to build relationships. And guess how I do it? When I hear you're Mujuni and you're the BD lead, when I meet you, I'll say, Chino Tagai, how are you? It's a nice breaker. Like there's a way already you break a certain ego, people say, okay, like Nelson Mandela said, when you speak to someone in their tribe, you speak to their heart. Not that you want to be tribalistic, you want to meet them at a certain level of mental clarity, a certain level of emotional attachment. You attach, then when you attach, you now propel your conversation to where you want to go. You first of all want to make them comfortable. I speak 13. Yeah.
Linguistic for us.
So I speak Alur. Now, if you speak Alur, Kebo and Lendo come through. That would be 3. Then Acholi, then there is Lange therein, then there is Nubian, then there is Juba Arabic, then there is Luganda, there is Lusoga, there is Runyankore, there is Ruchiga, there is Rutoro, and there goes and there is Runyoro. Kumam sounds, yeah, they are closely related. Actually, if you're communicating, you would easily come off. Now, in Alur, let's say if you're very beautiful, Ileng. In Jap, they would say something like Ileng Swa, my bed Swa. You get it? So now for us, when you say Swa in Alur, it has a connotation of not anyhow. But that said, those are now languages with the extra 4 that I can hear with clarity, but then I'm not able to differentiate the diction very meticulously in a way that I'll be there. But not to say that if I went to a road, I'd have trouble being there. I'd comfortably listen into a conversation, enjoy it. If it is a baraza, rather than have no one go, I'd gladly go and pick what they are saying comfortably. But just those small dynamics. That's what I told you, that there are other 4 on top of those 4 that I can comfortably hear. Like now, Ruhororo. That's a tribe. It's part of Nyankore Chiga, but slightly different. So those are the other 4 that I normally like to say, other than the 13. There are other 4 that I have my way around with. Yeah. I want to say that Lugbarati is a difficult language. And then my children are Lugbarati. They're Lugbaras. But you see, in Arua, when I had my baby, I lived there for 1 year. I learned Nubian easily. Nubian has lots of Swahili in it. But because Nubian is close to Juba Arabic and many Sudanese, I did. But Lugbara is in West Nile, but it doesn't share lots of words with other tribes. Even though it sounds like Kakwa, they are unique. So it's not a very easy language. I can easily survive there, speak there, live there, but I wouldn't be very proud to say I'd nailed it. Yeah, it's not a very easy language. Lukonjo, that's a very difficult language, and Kakwa. Those 3 languages, if someone speaks them in Uganda, I give it up to them. And the other one of the Sebei people. You know, like other languages, you could hear and feel it come, eh? But those ones, like the people of Kasese, they are neighbored by Batoro, but they are not related. The Kakwa people, very unique. So you see the challenge. So those particular ones, but then with my agility and ability, if today work tour took me there and I lived in Kasese for a year, I would speak it. So the other issue is that I've also not lived in those areas or interacted with them. But who knew I would learn Juba Arabic proficiently? I did because I lived in a neighborhood where it was spoken. So for me, in 6 months, if I live somewhere, I can hear. That's why I said in 6 months, I should be at a good place and in I go. It's just a gifting. It's just a gifting because my siblings don't have it. The Holy Spirit gives as He pleases. Isn't that what they say about the Bible? So it's a different. The way you can have a brilliant child who understands sciences and one that's being pathetically poorly. Yeah, I would really say it's also grace. This is the trick with languages.
What do you do?
The trick with languages is one thing too. When you go to a place, pick up common words. When you pick them up, don't just write them, use them. At every instance you get, use them. Like, don't allow to do that. I knew a bit of Kiswahili, but when we joined the first year course, my friends and the neighborhood, the hostel I slept on was Sapolo, Kagwa Road, Bascon. Then, you know, university is funny. Afterwards, you go into rentals. So we rented with Kenyans. Now, for some reason, the people around Joyce's residence were Kenyans. Na walikuwa wanazungumza zaidi lugha ya Kiswahili as their language. So what I did, I made peace that I was going to pick up words and not speak to them in English. 2, permit yourself to hear words, apply them. 2, allow yourself to make mistakes. The problem with most of us, when you make a mistake, you get discouraged. The Baganda have told us that in Swere kwagala yekugwa kubwa. Make the mistake, let it hurt, let people laugh at you, carry on. The problem is that people like to beat themselves. Because you've been heartbroken once, you say, I will not love again. Who said there is no love because you are heartbroken? Who said that if you make a mistake, you cannot be better? So I'll make the mistake, when you laugh at me, I'm like, okay, so that's wrong. Like when I was learning Juba Arabic, the beans are called, some people would say maramba, marangwa. So I kept mixing those two words like that. And then every time people would laugh, I would tell myself, okay, so I'll not repeat it. So I don't have shame. Language requires confidence. Allow yourself to make mistakes. And when you make the mistakes, speak up. Laugh through the failure, laugh through the mistakes. Like, give yourself a hearty laugh and make peace with it. So 1, pick common words, apply them on a daily, and allow yourself to make mistakes. 2, if you can find literature, read. I think for me, what put me on a positive trajectory, when I went to those schools, I allowed myself to take readings in Runyankore. At the time the Archbishop Bachenga died, he'd come to Mary Hill and say, Bishop Mkoko wanje kirearai. I just shomeri shomeri yokubanza. So then I'll say shomeri yokubanza, ndugu mshitabu cha Matayo, umutwe gwa kashatu mushorongo gwo kubanza kagwa mushanju. And then I'd carry on with the reading. So you would perfectly bring a reading of Nyankore, I'll key in it. Bring a Bible of Alura, I'll read it. Yes. So I also, maybe because I'm a literature person, I love to read. Yeah. Like Swahili, how did I perfect? Like, you know, the Nguju Wathiong I'll marry when I want, it was in Swahili. If I can find the Swahili version, I don't lose by reading the other version. So I also love to read, and then I don't listen to songs for enjoyment. I like the words in songs. So nikisikia a song, I'll want to mpenzi, how you been? So I'll also pay attention to the words. I love language, so I love metaphors. So the things that make me happy, sometimes I'll hear a song, or if you watch my status, I like to caption with interesting things that I take away. And people wonder how they bring me so much joy, but I find joy in the mundane things. The things that make me happy are not many. A small poem, I'll read it 2 times, reflect on it, and then caption it away. That's how language happens. Like now there's even a Nyachisara dictionary. Recently, Nira has been working on their radio adverts. And it's been a joy for me to translate most of those and be the voice that's recording them. But you know what that means is that I read it, I meditate on it, and then try to translate it, make peace with sharing it. Sometimes I'll also ask and say, okay, like as working on Uganda is the Pearl of Africa. So I told people, what is the best word to say Ugandans? Is it Abanya-Uganda? Is it Abanyansi? Is it Abaturaje? You know, all those are words that could speak to citizens, eh? But you now know synonyms, eh? Which is the best? That's very crisp. Is it Abanyansi, Abanyihanga, Abanyamahanga? You know the foreigners, Abanyamahanga. So those are interesting things. So also I think, just enjoy it. Language is enjoyable. Enjoy it. Some people learned words to write. They didn't learn words to enjoy them. Probably that comes from my literature class as well. I don't take words for it. I enjoy it. I love good diction. A friend of mine, like that's what I said, like there's a friend of mine, Muhammad, that says, name one go Uganda Gwedel. Like so clear Uganda Gwedel. Like ask him why. Like the days I can have my phone, and then my aunt will call me from the village. I'll be like, I'll be in Alur. Then before you know it, a neighbor that I live with in Arua will call me and say, Ita kefin ke kabario Milan, malita woduru, then I'll be in Nubian. Then I'll say, no, I don't think so. The brain is a very, very efficient tool. It's very efficient. Only that sometimes I can be speaking to you in a language, then probably I might say a few things to you in another language. Not that I've forgotten, but because my friend likes to say what? Claire, your brain is faster than your hands. Something like that. But not because exactly that I'm confused, but you know when you think faster than you're writing or think faster than you're speaking, happens to me sometimes. Like you're thinking very quickly and the way you're speaking, yeah. But not quite. That doesn't happen quite a lot. I don't have a bit of dementia. My brain is still serving me quite well. Okay. Perfection is a word that I'm not synonymous with, but what I like to say is that I do a good job. Because the best room is the room for improvement. 2, languages evolve. When I was growing up in primary, the word mutimbagano was not common, was it? Was it because internet was not mutimbagano is the internet? It was not a very important, isn't it? It is a word that has become normal. Was the word ndagamuntu there in in the early 2000s? No. Those are good examples. Not that they borrowed it. Ndagamuntu na weketaruho 2000 kujenketa katanichi. That concept was not there. What I'm trying to demonstrate to you is that language evolves. That new words come in. That bulinako tuganda was obuntu bulamu. You know those words. Some words have come with katikiro, with najinda, empajizo Buganda. Like there are new words that have come that ideally were not there. Yet there are words that are fading away. I give you an example. When I was going forward, mwana ange kumesigiri onfunire n'entamu eri tuteekemu emmere. Today, on a scale of 1 to 10, how many homes will you find the mother saying they terentam? They will send a recipe. Because ntamu is fading away. And that's language. The other day I told people I'm a Catholic. Do you know that there was a time in the Catholic Church we prayed in Latin? And every Catholic could pray in Latin. Now we know Santos, we know Lamb of God, we know our Father. You understand? Do you know why? Because language has evolved. Now Catholic Church writes Latin more than it speaks it. But you know that before we used to pray Mass in Latin and face the other side. Language has evolved. So to say I'm perfect would be a fallacy of generalization. But to say I'm good and I'm work in progress, I agree, because the greatest room is a room for improvement. As languages evolve, so must I. So must I learn. So it is a student attitude. I don't stop learning, and I never fail to seize an opportunity to speak that language when I can. That's how I don't forget. So in Nira, there are people whom I meet and you never find me speaking with them English. When I meet Balab, ndagamba na uruchiga, ndagamba na urukorachi. You get? If I meet Jimmy Rom Chama, I'll speak in Alur. If I meet Dale, I'll speak in Acholi. I apply. I don't allow to sleep over it. So it remains fresh. I enrolled for French. I want now to take it to that international level because I can speak Juba Arabic and Nubian, which are pidgin for Arabic. So I want to make it professional so that now I learn the actual internationally recognized Arabic. Although I want to promise you that it's pidgin, like I already said. Most of these words you hear from these ones, but that have been vernacularized. Yeah. So I hope that I can dwell into that space and then take those to professional level, which I don't think it's a tall order, but probably which is a problem of education system. They were not largely celebrated. Yeah, but that's a space I'm open to because, you know, it is us to the world. Like, you have to keep evolving. You can't give up on yourself. Yeah, because the opportunities that are unfolding that we can leverage, but yet also, these ones are also still very important because if that is Uganda and that's who we are, it carries on. Yeah, so I hope that probably when I'm done with this course, I'm not enrolled for Arabic, at least I've enrolled for French, but that's a thing I can do. At least I'm learning the alphabet, I'm using Duolingo. When I meet a few people that use it, I'm very intentional. That's a thing that I think I should owe myself. Duolingo is my friend, and I lose the local ones. I just use the local dictionaries. Banyatsara have, Basoga have, because you see, how I'm able to write proper Soga like Iwe in Luganda, in Nyankole that would be IWE, but in Lusoga that would be IGHE. You know, Lusoga use a lot of HE. Now that perfection comes from using the dictionary, which we still use for English, because you think you know bureaucratic. But when you begin to write, you actually remember that, but have I mixed up the E with A with you because there are a lot of vowels there that are following each other. Spelling is a very funny thing. Yeah, but I use a lot of those so that when I'm doing a translation, I can do it well. You can if you choose to. Everything, nothing can beat the ability of a human mind if there is a will. For me, I think whatever the human brain can conceive, it can achieve. There are no boundaries. There's not rocket science. No. There's no rocket science. Even rocket science, people have broken through. So what is that? Okay, I know it has a few people. It's a niche that's not highly penetrated. But to me, someone has done it. Why not? And it's something that people can do. It's just that there is a certain laxity with Ugandans that, my child must know English, or they must be good. You know that the Portuguese children are speaking Portuguese and learning university much later. This arrivalism is just here in Kampala. And that, my kid speaks very nice English, so what? I went to my kid for a very long time to that place in Alia, the water park, and he didn't speak good English. And I'm very meticulous. By all standards, at least my English is not bad. But it is not cause for alarm. My baby can speak to me. I can communicate with him. Where are you finding the problem? At that point in time, you learn the other one. I know that now I can speak vernacular, but at his school, he will not find Lusoga. He will not find Allure. So let me use these initial years to give this to him. There is a whole 16 years of learning where there will be a lot of English. But in those 16 years, there might not be the laxity for my Allure and Luganda. I speak with them both Allure and Lusoga because those are my mothers, and I like them to know that they are Ugandans indigenously because of what? So those two, at least so they know my mommy's language, my daddy's language. Because they are from Arua and their dad is Muslima, I also speak to them Nubian, so they know it. We don't know a lot of Lugbarati, but every time I try to teach them a few words. Enyasa, when we are eating, I tell them this is how you greet us in Michi. When you go to your village, you don't have to be a clown telling your grandmother, hello, Jaja, no. Hey, you meet your Jaja, you must say, Mingonia, Azumichia. Hey, you must. Yeah, the greatest thing is that I don't have stereotypes in my brain. I don't. So I'm likely one of the stories I will not want to hear is funny stories of tribalism. Like they don't work for me. Because you see, you are a Musoga or a Muganda because your mommy is. If today your mommy had married Odong, you would actually be a Acholi. It is because that's where your mother found love, not because that is who you are meant to be, no. So for me today, if I'm Ollama, I'm from Zombo, if my mother had actually met a good man in Ginger before my father came by, I would actually be a Musoga. So I don't have that stereotype. But also too, it has allowed me to meet people in their own unique way and find that actually, in terms of value system, everyone craves love. Everyone will have the same sayings in different ways. So we're actually the same people. So bottom line, we are human. And that's when I say that if a lily flower, like Shakespeare said, was called by any other name, would it cease to be a beautiful flower? So if a human being was known by any other tribe, would you take away that they're human and they have blood in their veins? No. So for me, I see us as Ugandans. Just diverse, that's richness. Not that there's anything different. We're just Ugandans, and that's it. This diversity is just, God spoiling us with a lot of choice and showing off how amazing He can be. So I don't think that because that's why when I was in Western, there are people that used to say, there was that old woman, she used to say, Claire. But then later on, I didn't find it hard. You know why? It was the experience of the war that formed their opinion. You find rich people today, like this man, Brian White, they're probably son of Mugaga Wang. Today, does he fit that tight? So nothing is permanent, you understand? And today could be a Munyankore, you intermarry with the Mlugwara. Before you know it, yes, so could you Munyankore, but you're married with Lugwara, so you become a part of them. So any of us can potentially be the other person, either by love, by relationship. So for me, it helps me to love people regardless. So the first thing is I'll never look at you and your tribe stereotypes me or impairs my judgment of you. The people will go to an interview and because the Munyankore has won them, it's because they're in power. So that petty kind of reasoning. But their minimum is one. They wanted a degree. Didn't he have a degree? Yes. So why are you thinking like that? Or the feeling of say, everybody is life is so good for them. But I've been in Western and seen people malnourished. UNICEF implementing projects to help people feed better. But I have also seen very rich men from northern Uganda. I've also seen paupers. It's not a matter of tribe. I think it's lack of exposure. The Baganda told us Oktambula kulabo kudda kunyumya. So for me, really, natambula keda we not the worth fenyumya. So many times they'll look at me and say, they're like this, and I'll say, wow, it's all in your brain. Yeah. connect to people, break boundaries, appreciate them, get into their safe space, understand them, and subsequently I have concluded for me as Claire as a person that difference in tribe is diversity, but really we are one and the same person in Uganda. We all need a good life, we all need to feed, we all need to be happy. So this is just richness, versatility. Yeah, so it has helped me to declutter and just be open to everybody regardless of who they are, which is important, but also to relate with people easily, meet them. You know, language breeds trust very easily. I was telling people the other day that when you're talking, some people say, don't talk like that. Did you hear his title? Most of those people are intelligence officers. Because they're just biased, because they've seen them, they've looked at the nose, talk slowly, they're intelligence officers. You know that? Or they say, oh, he has a very flat nose. You know that one? He might be a Muganda. And you know the Bachiga with the flat noses, over Ukunjiri. Very flat noses and very black. Matter of fact, I make people laugh. You know that by him are very dark people. They even know that as like in my tribe, Balus are very light people. Very light people. Actually, if you're confused, you will not know. Most of them will say they have a flat nose, but my people from Alur have long noses. They are light skinned, they are not dark. So there's a breakage of barriers that goes beyond. So why is a Ghana? You even find me Uganda kayaka. And yet for you here with your rival is in thinking every muhima, life is good for them, every munyankole. Madness. So Boyikwe is like United States of America, bringing so many people together. You know, because of ginger and the factories, many people actually moved then to the then business hub of Uganda, Ginger. So that district has amazed me by the number of different tribes that live there. Actually, in Wikwe, you wouldn't say it's a district of Uganda. It's many people. So recently I met a very old woman. She had come to register. For some reason, they left her Rwanda and settled here. So she couldn't trace her way back there. And then for some reason, when Sudan opened, she went to try her luck. So over time, life has become hard, so she returned. So she came to my office. And you know, Northerners are funny people. They can live in a place and actually refuse to learn the language, even when they've existed there for very long. So she came to office and then was trying to communicate to my team. And the team would not understand. And then it was difficult back and forth. They spent like an hour trying to talk. So when I came, I looked at her name. She was called, I think, Drichiro, if I remember very well. And then I told her, as the chair, you don't want to see the smile that woman wore. She just gave me a hug for no reason. Like I was like, okay, what has happened? Like just came and said, body for yeah, Hemingonia. Like, she had not yet got to the ID. But the fake news that began to flow in that moment, like, I am going to be listened to. Like there's someone who knows what I'm saying. There's someone who is going to believe me. And this person, even though I don't get the answer, will get it too. I will know what to do. And she was elderly. First of all, she didn't have a mother. She didn't have a father. We were telling her blood relative, get a court, you go to court, make an oath, because we could not easily identify her by blood relative to give witness. But then we walked through this process with her. And then she later went to court, the magistrate, I spoke to the magistrate administered the oath, then I registered her. She's not got her ID. But then the next day she returned and then brought for me a bunch of matoke and a coke. Like, okay, I was like, but you've not got the ID and then you don't have to thank me, it's my job. She said, you don't understand. Like I've been trying to do this, but everywhere I went for, like to the LC, he would not understand. I went to the GISO, he would not understand. Well, I took it over myself to call the LC and explain. I called the GISO and explained. At least they knew she lived there. And I became her voice. I spoke for her where she could not speak. And subsequently, she accessed service. That meant well to her. She's now going to get PDM. She's going to get Sentezabakade. Like, you know, that has the potential to transform her life. Like, she sees herself as like million Najikutekod. You know, little things. Like now, this one says, you don't know what you've done for me. Like every group I've joined trying to get PDM, I couldn't. So there are people whose hustle is real. And that tells you about what Mother Teresa said. We all can't do big things, but we can do small things with love. And I think that's one of those things I did with love. And that's like, I said, I don't need them. This is my job. Does not allow them to take me public service and everything. She said, okay, I am willing to write in your book. If anybody ever comes and asks why I brought for a bunch of matoke and a coke, please tell them that I did it willingly. No one coerced me. It was not a bribe. And I brought them after the whole registration process was over. If I'd brought them before, it would have meant that I wanted to bias you. But I did the whole process. And then when I'd finished doing the whole process, I came back as my way of saying thank you, because I don't think this would have been possible. That would have been someone's job. But I touched a life in doing my job. For me, the things I live for, just if one person can make me happy, the paycheck might not be much. And many people don't understand. They say, Claire, you're a registrar, and now you're communicating for Nira. What is in it for you? You see what is in it for me? Small things like those, very gratifying. And then karma is a bit, they'll come back to me in many measures. Nothing good goes in vain. Every good thing comes back to me. Not that that's what I expect, but because that's the law of goodness. It may not come to me, it will come to my children, or it will improve how I react, and so I will spread her goodness to another needy person. That's also goodness coming back to me. Yeah, you don't always have to pay back a person. You can pay back vertically, longitudinally, whatever angle. Like goodness just goes somewhere. You know, human nature is very funny. The other day, a couple of people, I think it was when that story ran, I saw many people purport to say, but I also speak very many of them. But the question that comes is one, it's one thing to know them. How are you using them to add value? Because knowledge in itself is useless if it does not bring transformation, if it doesn't impact someone's life. And for me, I think if you have a skill, I'm not intentional about propelling it, like you're a good cook, but you never cook. So then, so what? For me, I think the catalyst is there may not be as many, and I believe there are many people who know very many, but maybe they're in a space that does not allow them to use those to bless someone. So naturally, the first one is one, people will feel like you're entering into their space because you're doing too much. Call it what, one man army? So yeah, there is that bit of negative energy, but you know, that's not a problem for me. It is there, I acknowledge it, but probably for me, I like to say if my gut feeling is right, and I'm very comfortable with the intent, that's good. Two, there are people who bring you down because they know too much of too little. Because they're experts in Uganda, so because they speak and they know the Bisoko and everything, they'll want to say, people who pay attention to small things, and then I ask you again, did the message go or didn't it go? When someone wants to begin to bring that noise, that negative energy. And so if anybody thinks that they are going to stop me from using this gifting to spread the gospel according to identification or to do what I do, they are wasting time. Because at the end of the day, communication is not perfection. Communication is the people getting the message and understanding it. But also, communication is not words. You know, you can talk to people and you can talk with people. Very different things. You can talk to people, you can talk with people. The other thing that I thank God for is when I'm communicating a message, I strive not to talk to. I try to talk with the people. Because I want to appeal to your mentor, to your emotional ability, so that the message does not just go like the people who threw the seeds and they sprouted, but I want when the seed falls, that it will sprout up, it will yield fruit. So I think that's the other catalyst to the way I do my thing. Yeah. So apart from that, really, the people who are picky, who might want to say the diction should have been, you know, those little things. But I think that doesn't matter. Even now, if we all did a grammar paper today, we purport to know English. I promise you, as day followed night, very few people would nail 100. And if they were to mark to the letter, either you'd fail at a punctuation, at a comma. So those perfectionists will be fine. They will be fine. The goal is one, to communicate. When a baby tells you, juch, won't you understand that that's juice? They're communicating. And the mothers will often understand, because when they're communicating to you, beyond their words, you will connect to things. You will learn to read their emotions, learn to read the tone, and try to hear the words. So communication is beyond words. Once you know that, whereas the diction is the thing of emphasis, but there are more other things you can do to communicate. Tonation, choice of words, examples, imagery. There are many ways to communicate that drive the word point home. Yeah. I want to think that, this for the long game. Eminent Gates now, I must be having like 3 weddings locked in. I was hosting events before, but on a snowball referral basis. Yeah, like a friend knows me and they say, man, I so love your energy, you're so coming to my wedding. So it was a personal thing. And those friends required not to know a celeb. Because my Twitter, I think, was like at 500 people, but it grew in 3 days to 3,000. So thanks to you media people, that's amazing. But it was snowball. Someone knows you, knows your ability, and they've come. So a couple of more people now know. They say, okay, I knew about Claire, but now that you've seen her in the media, so there are many converted people that are going out. So that's a plus. So maybe 3 weddings, that's a good thing. Thank you. The other bit of Claire gets more pay. I am a believer at his appointed time. The Lord will make things beautiful. This is not a space where we want to displace people, make them unavailable. But I know that the universe can connive for my own good. And I am not bowing down. I'm still giving this a long shot, like I told you. If someone wants to give me a job and they want to use lack of a communication paper for avoidance of doubt, I'm in school. So come Jan, I will have a PGD in journalism and communication. But that's if you're the person who cares about the job getting done and not the paper skill set, I think that's a space I can deliver. And I am open, really. Yeah, opportunity is like a beautiful goddess. We're not leaving any stones unturned. Until then, we'll give this the best shot. Keep shooting, keep throwing stones into the world. And as we seek fast to this, the rest will fall in line. No pressure. Good things will definitely come. They do. It's like saying what? When you're doing a good job, it's like sometimes you might feel like you're tuning the radio and the signal is not there. But let me tell you, if you're doing a good job and doing it well, some people will eventually pick that signal and they'll propel you. I didn't ask for people to ask for pay rise for me, but I've gone to supermarkets and people said, I hope, Claire, someone pays you for this eventually. Because for me, my children are not registered, but you saw you spoke to me in my language, you spoke to my heart, and for some reason you were compelling, and I registered my children. I have one. The message just gone. I've met many people in Tinder in a mall when I went to shop. When I went to see my daughter in Seta High School, many parents kept walking to where I was sitting with my daughter. Hello, are you the other Claire? Are you the other Claire? Well, yesterday, but what I was in Chinatown, and then I went to the supermarket. A couple of people walked up to me. It's a strange thing. It wasn't there before. The other day, I like to buy, I like pancake. I like kabalagala. And I like to walk downtown sometimes, so there's that small white car that sells kabalagala. So I was buying that, my daughter said, Mommy, they're going to take your picture. Then my niece said, Mommy, they'll take your picture and put it on TikTok. So it also takes away a bit of your realism. And I'm a very raw person. I'm such a realist. So I'm telling myself, breathe in, breathe out. Don't lose who you are. Keep it normal, keep it locked. It's a bit of overwhelming, but we're getting there. It's becoming slightly, I'm easing therein. But I've told myself one thing, my humility will not go, my normalcy will not tilt, and yet I'll continue to show up for myself. Future plans is with language, get international languages into the picture. Those 2 that I'm looking for. If I can lock in French and then Arabic, that would be very beautiful for me. The other thing is I want to be big in a space of evidence dissemination, but also evidence collection, because garbage in, garbage out. So if I can support how we get the data, one of the things is to support the whole process of the questions we ask and make sure they are translated to be a real replica of what we want to ask, so that we collect the rightful data. You know, sometimes we lose it at we ask good questions in English, but how we are able to communicate them to the respondents, we lose it there, and the quality that comes is shaky. I want to be at that point, but also then support the synthesis and subsequent communication. I think that we have lots of good policies in Uganda that have not worked, either because people didn't understand them or they were not communicated well. So that's a space that I think I can be a game changer, leveraging my rich experience in public service, but also being a relationship builder by my own nature, inherent nature, but also that I'm professionalizing into by locking in probably a document that someone thinks once, but also I think it will patch the missing gaps, so that rather than rally skill talent, ability, bring the richness of what journalism and communication tenets can be. So if there are any missing loopholes, I'm already enjoying the classes. I think that's a space. So that's where I see myself, more in the place of talk, help people understand, make the citizen meet the communicator, be it in the private sector, public sector, talk to them, but also, for me, this is a game change. Also demystify. Who knew that we could say policy in vernacular and that the government technocrat is saying it? But you know that it can actually become normal. Like, you did a thing accidentally and it worked, eh? You get? Like someone in Ministry of Health was saying, Claire, we were talking about our epidemiology group, eh? And we think we should be hiring as a Mchuba here and there, eh? Yeah. The difference is you can hire a voice to say what you want to say. But in hiring that voice, it serves the purpose, but you lose a touch. Like, you know, I could tell you to tell people register, but there is a touch with a person like me now who is an actual registrar, I correct it. Eh? So sometimes if someone has mastered it and can say it in at least dialects that can meet different regions, it helps. It helps. Who knew? Now people listen to me because when I go to the presser, before I introduce it, I say habari za asubuhi, tumsaba kefin, muainenedi. Then people inbox and say, but today Claire, you did not greet us in my language. Not little things. I say, yeah, I listen. So now there are people who watch that presser because they're saying, I'm waiting to hear. Tomorrow will you say my tribe? I'm like, okay, yes, I will. And you know what? It brought like a certain traffic of a person who ideally would not want to listen to the security press brief. Teach. But I wouldn't mind it. I think I should. It's just that the way Uganda is, maybe I can, maybe later if I have someone to conceptualize it well, I can add brick to building that room of people who are open. But you see, maybe a YouTube channel that doesn't have to live with the rigidity of a PGD in education, maybe in those spaces. But I already told you I'm a peer educator. I support young people. I'm a lot in those spaces with Youth Alive, where I was a beneficiary and subsequent I teach. So those are things of coaching, empowerment, go to school career days and teach. That's my own little way of giving back and sharing what I have. Professionally, I'm not sure, but yeah, anything is possible. Start. Inertia and procrastination are very dangerous thieves, very subtle, but yet very dangerous. If you want to learn it, make an effort. Find a Muganda. Greet them in Luganda. You want to learn Luganda. You don't even want to meet a Muganda. You don't say Sivyotiano say Chevaleko. How will you learn it? You're in a taxi, conductor's wages. How much is my money? You say conductor maker. Like begin on the little things. Go to the local shop. Say Olina Amazi. Begin to apply it in your day-to-day life. And then so start somewhere, maybe in the local things. Then as you learn a few words, you can take a class. There are also many YouTube good people of goodwill who are teaching. Literature is so much at wide. I think what I know in communication now and what I do that makes me become off as professional is LinkedIn learning. There is even a trial. Do you know that there are so many trial pages where you can actually go subscribe, get a trial, and then you eject the trial before they actually chop your money. You will have learned. You sleep over it 2 weeks, you again go for another trial. It is okay. It's not being a thief. It is using what is free while you can. You get an app, go for the trial period, and before the trial period ends, you terminate it. You will have learned what you learn. YouTube, LinkedIn learning. I don't know how many certificates I have from LinkedIn learning, but all these things, strategic communication, how to speak to people on the call. I just went actually limited. I am in UMI to get to the paper because Ugandans are rigid about the paper. But honestly, what I need to know about theories of communication, there is a professor on LinkedIn who gives a course annually on communication policy. Isn't it? There is someone on LinkedIn Learning who is teaching how to use the phones for information dissemination. There is someone on LinkedIn Learning who is teaching how to drive a campaign of marketing. So actually you can be a guru in a subject without entering a class. So whenever I'm going to do an assignment, and for example, my ED now the other day told me, Claire, I want you to subtly leverage influencers in our community who are not just social media influencers, but people of goodwill who speak and are credible, and let them say what you're saying also, to add voice to what you're saying. And I've been speaking to bishops effortlessly, but you know how I do that, eh? there are so many courses that will give you tips of how to do that. And then before you know, Luke Rombi will freely use his plethora of platforms to say what I want. So without paying him a penny, it is possible. Not everything is monetary. And guess what? In these days I've worked for Nira. No one paid me a penny. It is the other clause in your JD and any other roles that might be assigned to you. But for me, when the ED told me any other roles, I told myself, you have given me wings and I'm so flying. Like, you know, not all opportunities are monetary. And Ugandans, what will kill us is every time your boss says that, do you know she wants me to be at the presser every Monday? She wants me to go for TikTok lives. She wants to go for Facebook, like all that work. Like there's no honorarium. Where am I claiming it for? I'm not saying I don't want money. I so want money. The reason I'm in Nira is to get a pay. But also, there are monetary benefits you're going to get that are strategic. So they are not now. You get it. So when she told me this, I said, okay, that's a national platform. I could actually use it to pitch myself, to sell myself. And for me, because of the long game I've told you I'm in about, it's at another level. Right now, I can easily call, hello, how are you? My name is Claire. I speak for Nero once. Well, can I make an appointment with your PS? And they'll say yes. Before that, it was hard. And now you were your phone me, Jackie. Like you, I'm amiable gentleman. When mwanza kunshanga nkai, nobu akireya bwanji. Kuretare nira. You know those things. Now you're going to give me a page in your new vision. Would you have covered me if I was in Wikwe? I would need to do a scandal, either rob government computers or be a thug for you to come. But now you're looking at me for a good cause, for my talent. So we need to also learn that there are many perks that are non-monetary. For me, that perk is amazing. You get it? And someone is agitating. And I want to tell you, someone in this country is listening. And it's a question of time they will find me. They will. It could take a while, but they'll find me too. If right now today I went for an interview, let me make you laugh. Do you know that when I enter, I will not struggle to begin to introduce myself. First of all, when I enter, I am like a mini small brand. Okay, hello, are you Claire? Yes. Oh, the Nira lady. Okay, happy to come. So already someone has concluded I have communication skills, I have visibility, maybe I have agility. So already there are good things they will already mark me for. So the conversation now will only be, do you understand the technical bit we are looking at? Can you deliver it? And sweet. So already for every interview, I have one foot in the house. So when I go to that interview of the next job I want to apply for, there is a perk I have. It's little, but it's not worthy. In economics, we say it is small but significant. Like it only contributes for 2%, but very significant. Without it, the whole paradox fails. Like now, it's like saying a degree is useless. But without a degree, you don't compete. That whereas eventually your degree might become a thing you may never talk about with your employer, little as it will contribute to your job every day to know that you are an economist. But without that degree, its 2% significance would have disqualified you. Although when you're doing the job, that degree will cease to be talked about. The tenants will now be your JD. So that's the power of a small contribution, but that is very significant in determining the whole, the absence of which the whole equation collapses. You cannot give what you don't have. So you are Muganda, but you are Uganda. Now, how are you going to spread the love for your own country when you don't love yourself? I think that it is to be oblivious, to be poor of mind, to be in denial. It's like saying you're a fish but you hate water. How? You will die. You will become extinct. You know? So for me, I think that people need to appreciate that this is who we are and let's pride in it. But above all things, but above all things is, okay, I understand that people could have anger, maybe because in the chaotic regimes of this country, maybe the Nubians were bosses at some time of Idi Amin Dada, so some people's mentalities remained with a bad attitude. Maybe during the times of Tito Okello Lutwa, the Northerners, the little jokes were very rude to people of this side. But for me, I think that's a fallacy of generalization. That yet those people did those things to you. But you see, it doesn't qualify hate. Somebody will call me a Mukoko, but I'm not mad at them. It is probably a name that came with that regime, and I'll explain to them what it means, and then they will smile about it and we will both heal, and I'll not be mad at it. Because yes, okay, it's a part of our history, but it doesn't have to define who we are as a people. So because of that experience, and you know that I live about Banyankore, you don't want to say you are naturally, because no, you come at Makenke. They were there in the barracks, they tortured us, so you're biased. Oh, you are pettiness. So because someone has disappointed you, you generalize, fallacy of generalization. You use a small sample to make a conclusion about the whole. I think it's not right. I think that let's celebrate who we are, celebrate diversity, because Uganda is diversified. 65 tribes, that's who we are, that's our truth. Accept everybody for who you are, love them, and try and learn your local language, because that's a piece of your heritage. That's a piece of your wealth. Yeah. And you can't celebrate Uganda without our indigenous communities, because that's what citizen by birth is. So if you're saying proudly Ugandan, and you don't like that which defines Ugandan, you have a problem. Your patriotism is wanting. Love Uganda. Umar Uganda. Kunda Uganda. Ajina kaji Uganda. Mierwa mar Uganda. Bana, Uganda neya ife. Tujende kandi tujikume. So yeah, I think that's what we need to do. Love it, love it, love it, love it. It's a pearl of Africa. Ni hunderia Africa. Uganda tie ongumi Africa, so let's love it. It's beautiful. Na tupende nchi yetu. Si Uganda ndio yetu. Tujipende na tuende mbele pia pamoja. Yeah, thank you. But yeah, thank you for having me, Jackie. I don't take this for granted. I hope that this story will encourage someone to learn a language. It will build their confidence to start. If they've been worried about the mistakes and the haphazards here, it is okay to fail, but keep going, keep trying, keep practicing. And I hope that this experience will teach us as a country to celebrate who we are, to value our heritage, but above all, to preserve that which makes us Ugandan. Because languages become extinct. They do. And that's painful. By learning a language, we are being intentional to preserve our Uganda for tomorrow. It is what we are handing over. Every time you refuse to speak your language, you're denying a future person from being that. Yeah, so yeah, thank you.
New Vision TV. Stream smart, stream New Vision.